Casey pushed up large black glasses as her gaze drifted to Rick. Looks like it's going to be a tough one. He nodded, but didn't mention he'd take the lead. If Max wanted them to know, he'd say something. Shane continued into the room, and his long strides carried him across the space. He dropped into the chair closest to Max. "Any chance you'll read us in before everyone gets here?" Max shook his head. "And there's no use speculating. I'll get started as soon as Cal arrives." "Right, Cal," Casey said, referring to the only wayward member of the team, their bomb expert, Cal Riggins. "He won't be rolling in until the last minute." Max checked his watch. "I don't blame him for taking his time, but the minute these long farewells with the wife interfere with an op, he'll be reassigned." Max often came across as harsh. Not that he had a choice. Their team couldn't afford to be sloppy, and he held each of them accountable. No matter how tight the group was, and Cal was most definitely one of them, Max would follow through and cut him from the team if need be. "Get your emails and texts out of the way now," he instructed as he moved to the head of the table. "Our flight's only about an hour, and we'll spend every minute in planning." Rick took a seat with his teammates. None of them would touch the binders until Max gave the okay to break the seals, but Rick wanted to rip into his packet to see what Max considered a worst nightmare scenario. Not that Rick could name just one scenario when people committed atrocious acts all the time. His stint as a Marine scout sniper and 5 years with the FBI had proved that. He could rattle off dozens, maybe hundreds of horrible things he feared, but honestly, he couldn't narrow down the list to the worst thing. Let it go, you'll know soon enough. He changed his focus to his phone until Cal breezed in with a big smile on his face and settled into the nearest chair. Rick wasn't big on smiling, but he couldn't keep his mouth from turning up. Not even with the tension in the room. Since Cal's recent marriage, he'd lost some of his intensity. Not on the job. He was still a guy who had the team's back, and they could count on him. He just smiled a heck of a lot more now, and it was contagious. "I never knew getting married could slow a guy down so much," Bryn teased. Cal's smile widened. "Hey, we moved farther away from here is all it is." Shane rolled his eyes. "Right, maybe we should start a pool on how long it takes before you call Tara." Casey grinned, looking more like a teenager than a woman in her early 30s. "I'll take 5 minutes after we're airborne." "5?" Shane asked. "Nah, you won't make it that long." Max clapped his hands. "Let's get started, but before we do, Shane, put me down for 15 minutes. Since we're hassling Cal, I figure he'll hold out longer."